Welcome to the Tuna Gear podcast. We have Dr. Lucy Hawkes on.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. Me and Lucy have met quite a few times before. Went to Scotland together.
Yep.
I met you recently down at Falmouth. You came and did a talk.
Yep.
I met you down in Plymouth. You did the end of chart talk down there, didn't you?
Yes,
Plymouth?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, that was quite a big one. That drew quite a few crowds. So you do tuna tagging. You do many, many other things under those, but you do a huge amount with tuna. With me having the Tuna Tackle brand, and especially fishing commercially, like I was just talking to you, some of those fish we've landed, we take absolute grief for. You know, you're pillaging the sea, there's no stocks. My personal favourite is, how many cans do you get out of that? So I thought we were going to do a Q&A session. My social media guy, Seb, I'm really sorry about this, Seb, was like, we're going to do these quick fire questions, 45 seconds. And I went, I don't want to do that. I'd rather talk to you more long format style and understand some of the research, because I think a lot of people out there, some people don't even know we've got tuna swimming around.
Yeah.
Like I'll put a picture up and they're like, where'd you catch that? You know, like the Canary Islands, you're like, no, it's Brixham.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Well, yeah, we've got tuna. And then there's people that think tuna are eating everything. Tuna, I got a comment the other day, tuna are only here hiding because they're hunted everywhere else. And I was like, man, I don't think tuna know how to hide. You know, you're putting cute. So I thought, let's get you on.
Yeah.
I can punch some of these questions at you. Seb can pick out what he wants afterwards, and we'll put it up long format and really understand how much like research has gone into this fishery that we've got.
Yeah.
So how did you first end up on the tuna program?
So yeah, like you said, like I track lots of different types of animals. So I did my PhD originally on sea turtles in the USA, and back then that was about 2001, and nobody was really tracking that many animals at all. Like the technology hadn't really been around that long. So I was like the first person ever to discover like where the population of turtles went in North Carolina, and then I did some stuff in West Africa tracking them as well. And then for my postdoc, I started working on high altitude birds in the Himalayas. So all of this was like
one of these tags here.
Exactly. Yeah, like little sort of like, little jobbies with solar panels that record GPS locations, but using like ones that can record their heart rate while they're flying as well. So all this really cool stuff. So for that, I was traveling to India and Mongolia. And so I've been to all these like amazing countries, catching all sorts of really cool wild animals that typically I know nothing about before I start working on them. And then this sort of charismatic mega beast like turns up in front of my home. You know, it's just, to me, a bluefin, I think to all of us, right, these bluefin are just nuts. In science we call them charismatic megafauna, but by that we mean really? Like they're really sexy. Like people are enthusiastic and passionate about them, and to have them right on our doorstep was really cool. We've worked on basking sharks in Scotland since about 2012, and they're pretty much kind of charismatic megafauna as well. But the tuna just turned up so close, and it was kind of like, what, you know, we had the skills of tracking stuff, and we had no idea who else we shared these fish with and where else they went. And so it was just kind of this perfect accident, really, that they turned up when they did, and we were ready to work on them. Was that like an in-house, you all sat around having one of your like meetings in Exeter Uni? Yeah. And tuna just, have you seen the tuna have turned up, Yeah. So, I want to tag that. Yeah, I mean, the way it works is that typically you just kind of discover ideas for projects as you go along. Like I've literally just started a brand new project working on vultures in Mongolia. So we're tracking them to try and actually use them to find poaching, which is kind of mad. We're putting cameras on vultures in Mongolia, but stuff just comes along kind of organically. And a guy from the Cornwall Wildlife Trust sort of said, there's these tuna back and we should track them. And my partner and I had already been tracking basking sharks anyway. And so we were like, well, do you know what? We've kind of got the technology. It takes a while to get the money. That's the other big problem. So it took us a couple of years to get money from the European Maritime Fisheries Fund. So we got some EU money to start with. And then we got in touch with CFAS because we always knew they were going to be a key part of the kind of regulatory landscape and that. And they have some great fishery scientists too. And then through that, we're able to get a local money from DEFRA as well. And that gave us the money to really get going. Got the logo, got the website, got a PhD student, started tagging. Yeah,
it amazed me how expensive it was to go tagging. So this is one of the tuna tags.
Yeah.
$4,000.
Dollars, yeah.
Because I recovered one of these. You can see it in one of our videos, and I got, I think it was a €900 reward for going out and getting it. You wouldn't. So we were talking about Whitby, weren't we? And you were telling me the sort of money you were going to raise. And when you first mentioned it, I thought, 20, 30 grand, something like that. And you told me the number, and I was like times 10. Where I was amazed. But you don't think about the boat hire, the accommodation for people to stay up there, and these expensive things to go on there.
These are like a good quarter of the budget. Even if you go like even if you max out on the budget, these are still a quarter of it. Yeah, they're mega. What these tags actually do is pretty clever. And over the years, loads of people say, well, we can make up a circuit board and solder it to a battery and like chuck it in some sort of like acrylic to make it waterproof and stuff. But actually getting these to work really well is quite an art. These are made in Seattle and actually went to their offices in April this year, and it's all kind of done right there in the office, and there's someone kind of soldering the boards together and someone kind of checking the integrity, and then they put them, they even after they pot them, they put them in pressure chambers to test them to make sure that the battery's still functioning properly and there's no leaks. But these are now, they're really reliable. We put them on a fish, we know they're going to record for exactly however long we ask for. Up to 2 years we've been doing on one fish of this. But for that, you get an understanding of where the fish is every day, how much it's diving up and down through the water, and also how it's behaving, what its body posture is, how often it's beating its tail, all sorts of really cool stuff.
You don't get that until you get the tag back, though, do you?
So when the tag comes off, so that doesn't work for people who are just listening, but it's got a little orange nose cone on it, and on the day that you program it to come off, it sends all the voltage through a little wire that's running through the middle of the tag, and that pops the orange nose cone off, and the rest of it bobs up to the surface and starts transmitting data via satellite, but it can only send a summary of the data. So it usually gives you enough to reconstruct where the fish went, but the diving and the body posture and stuff, you don't usually get that till you get the tag back. But because we're here in the lovely British Isles and the Gulf Stream sort of like throws water at us, loads of these tags wash up on the beaches and dog walkers find them, or we go find them if we can. So we've got about a third of our tags back so far, which is great.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with all that effort that goes in, you don't want to be losing your tag.
Yeah.
So when did you first hear of tuna turning up back in the UK?
I think it would have been around 2014, something like that. Yeah.
What do you think brought them back?
I reckon it has to be, a large part has to be a population increase, because we were fishing tuna in large numbers, but also there was a lot of illegal fishing as well. And then ICAT kind of really got their act together and sorted stuff out, and catch quotas went right down. We just took our feet off their necks a little bit. So I think the population rebuilt, which is really cool, because it goes to show that you can get wildlife populations to come back if you just manage them a little bit more carefully. And so I reckon the population has increased. People often ask about climate change and whether that impacts them, but you and I have talked about them off the Yorkshire coast. So it's not like it's got that much warmer it's not like they couldn't handle cold water before. So why would it matter if it got warmer?
They've got them up in the Scandinavian countries, haven't they?
Yeah, Iceland's got them.
They've got big. I've sent a load of kit to a guy in Norway called Raw. Best name in the world. He lives on a little island up in some sort of fields. His wife grew up, there's 2 houses on the island. His wife grew up in the other house, he grew up in that house, and then they built a third house and lived like in the middle of the island, and they've got this whole island to themselves. Lovely guy, I talk to him quite often, or WhatsApp each other quite often. But yeah, they've got them up there, they've got quota for them. So they can take that temperature. If you notice, like with the ones in Whitby, there seems to be fish predominantly in Devon and Cornwall. And then they've now started coming up like the back of the Isle of Wight. They're now seeing them in Dover. But then there seems to be like a bit of a dead spot where nobody's really seeing them. And then they start again up to north. Do you think they're a different stock of fish coming over?
Such a good question. I would love to know the answer to this. So,
what's your gut tell you?
My gut tells me I reckon they're different age classes. So I reckon, if I was to put money on it, I reckon, and this is partly because when we've been catching tuna off Jersey and Guernsey, they're little peanuts. Like the first couple we caught, we were like, hello.
We've seen some tiny ones out there.
Yeah, diddly little ones. So they were quite little. The ones in the channel seem to be sort of medium size, I guess, and then you get the honking great big ones up in the North Sea. So I wonder if the fish that we've got in the channel right now are adults but not that old, and maybe as they get a bit bigger, get a bit heftier, they can actually withstand the temperatures in the North Sea and then start living there. And then once you live in the North Sea, presumably the prey is much better there, so why bother coming back into the channel again? Because a bunch of our colleagues have been tracking tuna using exactly the same tags out of Denmark, Sweden and Norway, and those fish don't ever come into the channel.
Do they ever go to the Med?
They do, yeah.
They still go to the Med to breed?
And they go around the top of Scotland.
So they could be the ones that like Angus is catching.
Exactly.
And the ones like Andrew Alsop and Rob Young are catching in the Pembroke, in the Celtic Deeps.
Yeah.
And coming down, and then you've got the ones round like Kieran on from Wild Seas. They're catching those ones. He's at a Newlyn.
Right.
And he catches big fish down off the bottom of Land's End.
Right. So he might be catching the edge of those ones coming round, I reckon. So I reckon this is almost like, you know, when you sort of got like Exeter College kids go to like a little sort of like a mini disco where it's not kind of like a full-on nightclub. That's what I reckon the channel is. These are like technically adult fish, but I reckon they're still like a little bit early. So that would be my guess, but I don't know. And what I'd love to do is come back and start tagging just the donkeys round here, because I reckon those ones might be likely to start pottering into the North Sea. And now that we're really good at tagging tuna for 2 years, which no one else in the world has been doing the way we've done it, people have put tags inside tuna and they can last for years. But tags on the outside of tuna, like we do, no one's ever tried doing it for 2 years at a time, mainly because the device manufacturer said it was a bad idea, but we did it anyway. And now we've had 12 of those data sets back. So,
okay.
So if we can track them for that long, you might just start to see them going, I'm now big enough, I'm going to go to the big disco in the North Sea and go wild.
See, so you've seen the Start Point fish.
Yeah.
You know, Henry Kirkwood's done some amazing filming on it. I'm very lucky it's right on my doorstep. And we sort of cracked a bit of a code this year with how to catch them. We tried dragging bars up there. We tried this, we tried that. We've been live baiting for them, but we found a trick of how to get those live baits presented in a certain way. And we've started catching these fish and they're all massive. I think the smallest one we've pulled out of there is 98 inch.
Whoa.
They're all north of 100. Whoa. You don't see any small. You see some small ones in there, but there seems to be. I know one of the guys, the guy from Portland, Richard Vass. He's out of Portland. He's caught. They're fishing in the race in and around then. They've had some like upper 90-inch fish as well. There seems to be those bigger fish are inshore and like the race for some particular reason. Yeah. You know, Kieran's catching those ones off the bottom of Land's End. We get these ones at Start. I'm pretty sure there's probably some down off the Lizard.
Yeah.
Do you think that? So you'd think that those, because those fish are probably as up and around the smaller sizes of the ones in Whitby. Yeah. Everything in Whitby's 100-inch plus. Richard Cope from Mistress Charters, he had one on my tackle, I might add.
Of course.
123-inch. They put the measurement in that.
Wow.
Because then, of course, everyone starts claiming that, this is a 1,000-pounder, this is this. Because those tape measures are out, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're miles out. So that big one that we landed was 100-inch on the nose, and it was 210 kilos dressed, which when you do the MMO multiplier gives it about 250 kilos live weight, which is around the 550-pound mark.
Wow.
So like, I don't know, another 20 inches of that size fish gives you another 500 pound. I'm never going to take away more. That's still a bloody massive fish. Yeah. But it'd be better if everyone just went on a measurement for the time being, because you can't weigh these things. Everyone seems obsessed with the weight. Yeah. It should be the size of them, shouldn't it? And
one of the problems we've got is that because we've tagged 164 fish, I think now, so we've tagged loads of tuna, and so all the money we had for tagging tuna has kind of gone. And in essence, a lot of that tagging was necessary to help Chart to start to actually establish. You had to establish the scientific basis to get get quota and stuff. And so that kind of opportunity to have that money's gone now. But there's all these much bigger questions. So, I remember talking to you and you saying like Wolf Rock, the fish there were kind of a different colour and much bigger. And it's like, actually, do we have several different genetic populations of fish, or are they different age classes? Or
the boys talk about, and they call them the silverfish. You get these like real blue iridescent colours in them, and you get some of them, they're just these big silver slabs.
Wow.
Is that an age thing? Is it a dietary thing? Is it a genetic thing? Is it... Yeah, because they talk about those silverfish as being the ones that sort of predominantly are down that bottom end of Land's End. But we do see them every so often. You see one come out of the water, you're like, that's a big fish and that's silver. Dom gets particularly excited. Dom 130, he's like, that's a silverfish, that's a silverfish. He's getting ready to cast at it. And then, so yeah, I think the first set of questions has been answered, isn't it? Now it's you want to go back in and do that deep dive into...
There's loads more, pun intended. But yeah.
Are they all coming out of the Med? Are they all going back to the Med to breed? Do you think any are breeding around here or out in the Atlantic?
I don't think they're breeding around here. There is some evidence to suggest that there might be a breeding ground in the Bay of Biscay, in the southern Bay of Biscay, off like sort of the North Spanish coast.
Yeah.
And our fish all spend tons of time there. Like most of their time, they're in the Bay of Biscay. So it's possible some of them are spawning there as well. But loads of ours go into the Med to spawn. They don't spawn every year. So because we've tracked some for 2 years, we can see that they'll spawn 1 year and then not bother the next. So there's a bit of variability, but they're definitely all Med fish. But we've got them spawning from everywhere, from like the Balearics all the way over to Turkey, a bit like humans.
But they're on an 1830s holiday somewhere.
I'm all about the holidays with the tuna today, apparently.
Is there ever been any evidence that we've had fish from like Nova Scotia coming across here, and any of those American fish?
I don't know what Floyd tag returns there's been. So, you know, the little yellow spaghetti tags, like the ones they put in chart, the little yellow plastic stick with a coded number
I think that's what Mark's doing this year. They take a little nip at the end of the fin for DNA.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're a yellow tag he's putting in there.
It's like it's just got an ID, so the fish is like, it then becomes like an identifiable individual. There'll be fish that would have been tagged off Nova Scotia, and I don't know whether any of those have been picked up over here. I wouldn't be surprised. The Irish have done a bunch of tracking like we have, and one of their fish went all the way over to Nova Scotia. So what's to say that one of their fish doesn't come over here? And we don't really know till we properly do the genetics either. I don't really know much about genetics. Don't ask me questions on that.
Okay, no, I know nothing about genetics, funnily enough, either.
That's lucky.
But, yeah. So when they... Tuna, do you think tuna turning up in our waters is a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I think they probably were always here. I mean, we know they were here in the 1940s and stuff like with the Tunny Club. So they are a native predator that should be here.
There's been reports when you go... I was talking to one of the old guys down in Mevagissey. I think he was the old harbour master. And we brought up the conversation and he said... well, we used to see him back in the 80s.
Right.
You know, not in the numbers that we are seeing.
Yeah.
But you do hear, you know... People have said, oh yeah, we've always seen tuna, just not like we see them now.
Yeah.
So do you think that was a population collapse, but there was still fish coming up here for food in...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you're never going to kill off the whole population, so there still would have been the odd few that made it up here. But yeah, as far as I understand, they are native predators that kind of should be in our waters. I know there's some modern discussion about. I mean, obviously these are hungry beasts and are smashing their way through a massive amount of silverfish. So I appreciate, you know, like if you fish pelagic fish, you could be quite threatened by bluefin being in your waters. I get that.
I don't think they're eating. So. Your colleague Tom Horton, he's done a really interesting thing this year. He's been asking for stomach samples.
Yeah.
And because I fish in the commercial fishery...
I just poured tea down my face.
You did well, though. You faked it.
We're talking about stomachs, and I was just like, no.
So Tom's done this... Tom raised some money, didn't he, to go in, collect stomach samples. My wife is particularly pleased with that because I've got 7 of them sat in my freezer at the moment. And she goes to get some stuff out. She's like, what's this? Oh, that's a tuna stomach.
Oh.
And the biggest thing I've taken out of one, I fished the commercial fishery in 23, the first year of it. And they weren't asking for stomachs, but just because the way that we dispatched them and then got them on the boat, I was like super interested, like the hearts and putting all these different...
The heart's weird, isn't it? The texture is so hard.
Have you bit one? I have.
No.
Yeah, so the first one of the season, we bite it. It's
Is this a ritual you have?
Yeah, it's just a bit weird. You know, we had to start doing something on like Deadliest Catch. They're biting the head off a mackerel and stuff before they put it in for bait.
Right, then, yeah,
so I was just like, Colin, bite this, and he goes, no, you do it first. I was like, Harr. And it is the toughest.
Yeah.
Like,
it's hard, isn't it?
You squeeze it, like the blood coming out of it. It's all. It just sounds pretty gruesome, but it's just interesting looking because they have a very small stomach.
Yeah.
You would think that, you know, the average tuna we're probably catching in the commercial 70, 75 inch, something like that. And you think you'd have this massive stomach. They're not very big at all.
Yeah.
And I was cutting them open and just super interested to see what was in them.
Yeah.
It's all sprat. The ones recently, we've been pulling a lot of garfish out of them.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I've taken out is a cuttlebone.
Oh, wow.
We're not pulling out pollock heads or bass or anything like that.
Yeah.
If you looked at the size of the stomach and looked at the pollock, it would fill that whole stomach up and a bit more.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing they digest pretty fast, don't they?
Well, so I had a quick look. So there's actually 2 brand new papers literally just came out. And one of them, they looked at 10,000 tuna stomachs. The study was based in the US, and half of them were empty, but the other half, 4,997, they got samples out of. So this was going from 1985 all the way up to 2020. But yeah, herring, sprats, anchovies, sand lance, garfish. Someone did a study out of Norway as well that's just literally just been published this month. Same thing again, 22% of the gut is garfish, followed by herring and mackerel. So that's what that'll be the sort of stuff that these fish in the southwest are eating as well.
Yeah, because people say, one of the comments we get all the time is, we just put this video up of, could you call it up? Could you call up the Tuna Gear Facebook page, please, mate?
Yes.
Is, look, the tuna are eating everything. It's gonna. There's no fish left in our oceans already. Blah 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 blah. Do you think there could be more of a knock on? Not of them eating the bass and the pollock and things like that. They're eating their food supply in that time frame. Do you think that could be a problem?
Yeah, it could be a problem, but I guess it's more of a problem for us humans, isn't it, really? Because ultimately they are predators that are meant to be in the waters. It's really tricky. I guess that's also partly why, why recreational fishing is quite an important thing. Oh, 6.8 thousand followers.
Yeah, we've gone mad in the last couple of weeks. It's this video here. Go more. It's not on reels. Well, this one here. There you go. 7.
Oh yeah, I just saw this video a couple of days ago. That's lovely.
Shot by Aaron Barrett off the deck of Petros last season. This is about 10 miles south of Salcombe.
So cool.
So we had a blind strike. We're towing along, and you could not see a fish anywhere. And we were headed to some grounds we'd fished the day before, and we've just got the bars out. I mean, look, that one's an absolute lump.
Yeah.
You can tell the way they waddle.
Yeah, they're really girthy.
Yeah. Just I'm a unit. And we just had some bars out heading for where we were going, and it rattled off. So Aaron put the drone up just to record the fight, and he was like, mate, there's fish everywhere. And I'm looking at the drone footage, you couldn't see a single one of these fish. It was a nice day out there, not one single fish. He goes, oh, they're about to bust. And he sent the drone over and caught that.
Yeah, that's nuts, isn't it? See, one thing I've loved about this project, because I've worked on all the other projects I work on, so whether it's like geese or sea turtles or basking sharks or whatever, we usually have to try and find the animals ourselves and try and work out how to catch them ourselves. And it's hard. Like when I was trying to catch geese in Mongolia, it took us like 2 years to work out how to catch them. This project's been so different that we can't do it without you. And it's been like, honestly, such a joy throughout the project to like work with specialists like you. Like
I'm not a specialist.
You've amassed that sort of 10,000 hours mastery on the topic. I'll
take that one. Yeah,
because if I say to you like, I want to go catch a massive, great big fish, you know where to take me. You know how to catch them. You know what's going to work. You know what's not going to work. When you turned up on that boat in Scotland with Angus, I was so relieved because I was a bit like, okay, he's got this. Because you actually do, because you've done the time, right?
I've served my apprenticeship. I've definitely served my apprenticeship. I've been very lucky to be surrounded by guys like the Mark Juries, like Kev from Crusader, Sam Narbit, who's out of St Ives on Bluefin. Even some of my mates like Dom, Dave, Tim, Jack, they are much better sea anglers than I am, but I've got to surround myself with these people, and you just pick up all this stuff. And it's like what we do.
Yeah.
We just live it and breathe it every single day. There's
Yeah.
always a conversation going on about tuna somewhere in the WhatsApp group. It's like, I'm going
really
tuna
cool.
fishing after this.
Bet you are.
Yeah,
It's a nice day outside.
It's beautiful. As soon as we finish, Dom's already down the quay. We're ready to go. The boat's fueled up. I put all the kit on it yesterday. I've just got to throw the roots and we're going. He was like, right, he goes, Shagger, I want that podcast done in an hour. We're going fishing. I was like, it'll take as long as it takes, Dom, but we will get there.
Right.
So do you think there could be a knock-on in the food chain from tuna being in our waters and eating the bait fish?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I don't think we could say it's not possible. I think it
but there's no data to back it up at the moment.
There's no data to back it up. But I mean, so we could estimate how much we think an average tuna needs to get through.
That's a good question.
Right. So
how many kilos a day does a tuna eat?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but we would be able, to calculate it because there's actually some fairly decent equations that will say this is how much energy you need. Like the doctor might say to you, you need to have like 2,000 calories a day. We can do that with tuna too, so we'll know how many calories they need to stay alive, and then you work out how many herring that turns into.
Do you know how many calories?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Anyway, I can figure that out.
Can you?
Anyway, yeah. No, there's loads of stuff on it, but that's the sort of thing you could do quite easily. So we're trying to put together a massive collaborative project to kind of work across all the different nations that have been tracking tuna, and those are the sorts of things that would be really important, because if these tuna were like this common or even more common 200 years ago, and then commercial fishing came along, or industrial fishing came along rather, and then we started catching them in massive numbers, they disappeared and we thought, oh, well, that's normal. We kind of call it shifting baselines, this kind of idea of what you think normal is changes from time to time. And then the tuna come back and suddenly you're like, oh my God, they're taking all the silvery fish. But maybe the silvery fish were different 200 years ago because the tuna were in large numbers. And so, and then going forwards, how does that affect livelihoods, of people who make a living catching silvery fish and all the industries that depend on that too? It's a difficult question that affects a lot of people's lives and needs work. So that's something we'd like to do in a future project.
Do you know anything about their metabolism, how fast they burn through food?
Yeah, so there's so Barbara Block is a researcher in America who's kind of like...
She has to be American with a name like that.
Barbara Black. And she's really like New Jersey as well. There's her and another lady called Molly Lutkovich as well, who are also kind of like the two big bluefin tuna dons of science. And Barb's worldwide, yeah. So she's been part of our project. She's part of most bluefin projects in the world, really, because she's just got lots of expertise, and her name carries a lot of both of them, their names carry a lot of weight. But she's actually had Pacific bluefin in the lab, swimming them in swim tunnels. And then what you can do is you can measure how much oxygen is in the water that you put in the beginning of the tunnel, and then how much comes out the back of it. And then because the tunas consume some of the oxygen to stay alive, that means you can literally calculate from that what the metabolic rate of the tuna is at different swim speeds and all different temperatures, all sorts.
Because I'm guessing what speed can a tuna hit?
Yeah, well, so sometimes you see people say 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And that's possible. And when they're kind of doing that, smashing the surface, they probably instantaneously are going really, really fast. On average, though, our tuna are typically cruising around. So a normal bluefin that we're tracking is probably doing 40, 50 kilometres a day. So a marathon a day.
Okay.
Which is quite a lot to travel for a human, but for a bluefin, they're just cruising. So pretty leisurely, actually, but constant. So, I mean, I don't want to do 40, 50 kilometres a day. I'd be knackered.
That's more than your 10,000 steps, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah, so I'm guessing they are eating quite a bit then, because of the size of that stomach versus that mileage.
And they're quite warm-blooded too, and that means they consume a bit more oxygen to keep their body temperatures up too.
And if you're consuming more oxygen, do you need more food?
You need more food, yeah.
Oh, that's the problem I've got. I breathe too much. Right, okay. So where do you think the tuna, how big do you think this tuna population can go? Because every year we've seen more fish, and we're seeing, this year I've seen a bit of a change in pattern. So the fish didn't really get up. This time last year, the season opened, it was very early August. We had it in the middle of July this year, but we were fishing off of Start Point mid-August, and there was fish everywhere. Yeah. They didn't get up here until late September this year. And for the last couple of years, 24 and 23, we started seeing the really small fish turning up. Yeah. We always used to see really big ones. So we say 500 pound a chuck. They're all big fish. And then all of a sudden, all these really small ones have started turning up. And do you think that population's just going to keep growing? Or
I hope so.
Do you think fishing can come in? Because everyone's like, one of the comments I get all the time on when we put commercial pictures up, oh, that's just greed. You're going to fish them into oblivion. You know, do you think that they've opened up more quota, so the stocks are going to dwindle again, or do you see this stock still growing?
To me, one of the biggest problems we got is that we still don't actually know how many fish we have. So your drone video just there is amazing, because all of a sudden you're looking at a bust and you kind of think, oh, there's probably tens of fish, maybe hundreds of fish in that, but you don't know how many. But on an aerial shot like that from your drone, you can actually count them. So a couple of years back, we did get some money to do an aerial survey of tuna. So we were going to fly a little Cessna all over the Cornish Peninsula and count them from the plane. And then Russia invaded Ukraine and the fuel prices went up and the whole thing tanked, so we never got around to doing it. But typically we don't count fish in their foraging grounds. We usually only count fish where they breed. So in the Mediterranean, people fly aerial surveys and count how many bluefin are there. But what we want to know is how many are actually in UK waters, because if we've got, say, 66 tonnes of quota that goes up to 250 or 350 tonnes of quota or whatever, how many, like 350 tonnes of quota, you can work out how many fish that might be. And so is that 1% of your population, 10% of your population? Like, that difference really matters, and we don't know.
Because our current commercial quota is 45 tonnes.
Yeah.
If you looked at that bus that I just showed you, if you shot a net round that and caught the whole lot, there's more than 45 tonnes worth of fish in there.
Exactly.
So people you're going to overfish these. We've got 45 tonnes.
Yeah.
We're probably one of the most regulated fisheries on the planet, aren't we, over here?
Yeah, I think so. Likewise, it's interesting that, because the science that we do is probably the most regulated in the world too. This is quite a boring bit, actually. But anyway, when we tag these fish, the licensing we have to do to get it is insane. We have the same licensing as people have to work on rats and rabbits and stuff in medical laboratories. So every person who touches the fish to tag it has to have a personal license, which costs £1,000 to get, and you have to do a long course to get it. We have to write a license about the actual work, which takes about a year and a half to come through, and we have to specify exactly where we'll work. So normally in a university or a hospital or something, you'd say, I'm going to have my mice and rats or whatever, guinea pigs, whatever. We don't really work on guinea pigs anymore, but I'm going to be in these 2 rooms. But we have to draw on a map an area of the sea and say, we're going to be here catching the tuna. It's insane. So we're both heavily regulated. On the other hand,
why do they regulate you so much? Because it was an endangered fish stock, or
just because it's a vertebrate animal? So basically any vertebrate animal undergoing anything that could have any chance of causing any pain or suffering for scientific purposes comes under a specific law directly administered by the Home Office. And we can go to prison.
This leads to an interesting side question. Okay. So I met your colleague in Scotland called... She's got seasick all the time.
Galia,
yeah. Who was doing a PhD in Do Fish Feel Pain?
Yes, yeah.
Because you were going to use lidocaine to numb the fish up.
Yeah.
So Do Fish Feel Pain? Is she written that report
yes.
Yet?
So I think fish probably do feel pain. There's been some pretty compelling studies done. So, for instance, you can give put a fish in a tank and you give it a choice of 2 little chambers with some food at the end of it. And one of them contains something painful, like a little electric shock. And the fish will choose to get the food from the unpainful area versus the painful area. If you then give the fish a painkiller, like lidocaine, all of a sudden it doesn't choose specifically which one. It will go to either. So that's kind of relatively sort of back of the envelope stuff, but suggests they probably do feel pain. What I think is that pain's really subjective, right? Like, I used to think I had quite a high pain threshold, but I think I might have quite a low pain threshold. I'm not very whingy, but I think I probably am quite. Anyway, but so what's that like in animals?
How does a tuna whinge?
Well, that's a great question, isn't it? Like, if a fish is in pain, like have you ever seen an unhappy-looking duck? I mean, how does an animal convey that it's actually in pain?
I saw a very unhappy duck on TikTok the other day when this woman hit it with a golf ball on this course. She didn't mean to hit it. She's just punted this golf ball. It's just hit this duck.
It's like a plume of feathers.
Yeah, I was like, that's not a happy duck.
Oh, no. And I think pain is functional too. Like, pain helps you to avoid stuff that's going to damage you. So why wouldn't vertebrates have pretty much conserved the potential to feel pain? Regardless of whether they do or not, our licensing requires us to act as if they do. And so we started using pain relief. And so Galia's analysed all this.
Because what you hold this in with...
Yeah.
is brutal.
It's pretty full on.
Yeah, I was thinking, it's like this little needle that goes in. It's like this massive plastic.
Yeah. So the dart itself is probably, say 4 or 5 centimetres long, and it's on the end of 15 centimetres of tether. And so we push all of that into the fish.
Yes.
You actually feel it pierce the skin, go through the first block of muscle, and there's kind of like almost like a membrane that then pierces into a second block of muscle, and when the dart gets stuck behind it, then we've had fish get caught by commercial fisheries, and they've tried to pull the tag out, and they can't. They are so well anchored in there, and that's why these tags stay in so well. We've got really good at keeping tags in really long, but it's pretty, it's pretty invasive, and so we've been giving fish pain relief before we do it, and actually we don't see any change in their behaviour whatsoever. But I think there's 2 reasons for that. One is that why would the fish behave differently, whether it's feeling pain or not? It doesn't. Tuna hasn't got a big behavioural repertoire.
So hooking a tuna, do you think it's feeling pain as that hook's gone into the side of its scissors?
Yeah, it might do.
It's not like us having a hook through the side of our cheek and running down the road screaming.
Yeah, it might do, but then also, like if a tuna's eating a garfish and stuff like that, I mean, it's already eating things that are fairly spiky and crunchy anyway, so perhaps it has a higher pain threshold, I don't know, but yeah.
Did it make a difference with your, how do I word this? So you were boarding some tuna, weren't you?
We always board them to tag them, yeah.
And then were you recovering them like we do with the recreational fishery, or were you just slipping them back over the side of the boat?
At the beginning, we used to slip them back over, and then because these tags are so expensive, we'd be like, I really hope that one survives, because it would just kind of float away, and you're like, I can't do anything about it. So then we started towing them to revive them a little bit. And
Did you notice a difference in the data between towing them, how they behave if they've just been put off the side of the boat and if they were towed?
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference. They always do this first initial dive after you let them go. So they just dive right down pretty deep. They go down to about sort of 50, 60 metres, something like that. It depends.
Doesn't
it varies.
So there's a guy, he's called Roger Kirby. He hates me. He seems to have some sort of vendetta against me. He's been writing letters to DEFRA about my illegal tuna tackle that I sell. Because do you know Hannah from Hannah Rudd?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she was telling me about it. And then he also did a hit piece on me fishing at Start Point last year.
Oh, wow.
Via some... So he's become... He's a legitimate plankton scientist, a fellow of whatever it is.
Yes, I know his name, yeah.
Yeah, so he is a legit plankton scientist. I don't know how much knowledge he has like you about tuna, because I've never seen any... You've written all these reports... Or is it a report?
We call them papers.
Papers.
For some
reason.
Yeah,
all these papers you've written, which are backed up by all this work you've done. And he was saying that because I'm fishing at Start Point and these fish always deep dive afterwards, I shouldn't be fishing in water that shallow. The thing is, at Start Point, you might be in 8 to 13 metres of water, but 300 yards over there, it's 150 foot deep as it drops down.
Yeah.
So with a tuna... That deep dive, is that affected by the depth of the water, or do they just go to the bottom and they don't get how deep it is?
Sometimes they're going to the bottom, sometimes not. I reckon they're doing it for 2 reasons. I reckon they're first doing it to get more water over their gills. So towing them, I think, is helping loads getting more oxygen back into their body, but maybe they go a little bit more, do a little bit more of it. But I reckon they probably get quite hot when we fight them, and especially when we board them, which I know isn't normally done in the recreational fishery.
Yeah.
But one thing I'd love to do is go back with a thermal imaging camera and actually like film them on the deck to see if they do heat up a lot when we have them on the deck. But maybe they're just really hot, so they're just diving down being like, oh, I need to get some of this heat off. It's a possibility. But one of our PhD students, Jess Rudd, she published a paper last year, and she was looking specifically at what happens to the tuna after we catch them. And again, we board the fish, which most people don't. So what we're doing is worse to the fish in a way than what you're doing. But they go off and have a little sulk for a while. So they do this kind of initial dive, and then for certainly a couple of days, but in some cases a couple of weeks, they're active. They're swimming around. They're not lying on the bottom, but they're not really that active during the day. And normally a tuna's really active in the day, out and about hunting. They probably are feeding a bit, but not a lot. Possibly not at all. So they just go off and have a little sulk, and they generally leave UK waters as well. So after we let them go, they go straight off to France, to Spain, and don't come back again that season until the next year, but they do come back again the next year.
Do you think the fish that we're catching recreationally are leaving as soon as they're released as well?
Yeah, I think that's possible. And I think that might matter, because then if you suddenly have 10 times more recreational anglers, you're maybe not killing the fish, but you are shooing some of that population away, at least temporarily. So earlier on in the season, you might have better catching opportunities, and later on you might see it diminish because more of the fish have been like, this is horrible, I'm coming back next year, but I'm not going to stick around. So it's an interesting, and I think that's, these kind of sublethal effects on the fish are quite important to think about as well, I guess.
So from the tag information you've had, are there some fish that after they've been tagged have never come back to UK waters? Have they gone, we're going somewhere else?
No, they've all come back. Yeah.
So the following year, they forget about what's happened to them.
Yeah.
The fact they got this thing in the back of them.
Yeah,
and they just come back.
Yeah, come back again. Yeah.
But they always leave.
Yes.
And they always do that deep dive.
Yeah, seems to. But I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about mortality, because I know when we were meeting at the Tuna
definitely.
Championship, we were talking a lot about mortality, because we've had, and again, the way we catch our fish with skilled anglers and skippers, so we're catching our fish probably pretty similarly to the recreational fishery, but because we board the fish, we're doing a bit more. But overall, our mortality from capture has been about 2.4%, and then post-release has been about 4%. But we've also lost nearly 5% to commercial fisheries in Malta, Albania, France, Spain, Turkey, all sorts of different places. So,
have you had any of them caught in the commercial fishery in the UK yet?
Not yet. We had one caught by a killer whale. You know this story? Do you know the story?
Yeah, it's called temperature went up massively, didn't it?
So the tag got found by a lady in France on the beach, and she sent it back to us. And these have got like a little programming port in them. There's like a little bit where you can plug a cable in. Plugged the tag in, looked at the data, and we were just like, what? It just looked weird. And for the last 2 weeks, because these tags measure light, temperature, depth, and acceleration, so movement of the animal. And the tag said it was dark for 2 weeks. It was 35 degrees Celsius, but it was still going up and down through the water column, and it was still beating its tail or whatever. So we were like, wait, what? And then we realised a killer whale must have taken it.
And then pooped it out.
Yeah, well, actually, we reckon it vomited it out because Jess, again, spent a while contacting like aquariums and reading on like how long it takes an orca to like pass a meal all the way through it. And they reckoned it was hours, but the tag actually got stuck in the orca for 11 days. So we reckon because the dart and everything would have still been attached, and we reckoned it got stuck in a bit of stomach folds. So it was in there, and no one's ever tracked a killer whale like that for 11 days. So we've accidentally got the world's longest killer whale tracking data set of behaviour.
I would not want to have to try and put a tag in a killer whale.
Oh, I know, that would be quite terrifying. But then also, because the tag was stuck in the stomach, every time the killer whale ate anything, the temperature dropped in the stomach. So you could actually see that killer whale eating meals. So we know that killer whales eat about 7 times a day on average, which no one's ever known before. And we discovered by accident because it ate our tuna. It's madness.
It's mad how it caught a tuna.
Yeah.
Because then, like we spoke about, there's no slouch through the water.
Yeah.
You'd have thought that accelerate. How big was that tuna?
I think it was 1.85 metres, so, about 179 pounds, that fish. So decent size. Yeah. So we, because we got the tag back, we have every 5 seconds, you can see the posture of the tuna, how much it's beating its tail, the depth, the angle, everything. And we reckon a pod of orca work together. The tuna dives down to about 129 metres, I think. And then you see it get chased back up to the surface again. It gets flipped out the water. The light level spiked. You can see its belly up at one point. It manages to escape, gets back down again. It get herded back up again, and then they probably ripped it apart at the surface. But they took 19 minutes to chase it down and kill it. We got it all on the tag. This was off the French. This was off in the Bay of Biscay, off the North Spanish coast. Cool, isn't it? It was really awesome.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did tuna have a swim bladder?
No.
So they can go to any depth they want then, and not...
Yeah, but they're generally quite surfacey. So most of the tuna data that we've got, they rarely go below about 250 metres. They don't often like to go much deeper than that.
Is that because of where the food supply
exactly.
is? You know.
Yeah, those big old eyes, they're really visual predators. Yeah, the deeper you go, you just can't really catch anything anymore.
Yeah, their eyes are... On some of those big fish, when that eye is just staring back at you, there are some... Yeah, they've got a big old set of eyes on them.
Yeah, they're nuts, aren't they?
Does that grow as that fish is growing, that eye? Because like with humans, the eye is a certain size, isn't it? And then as you grow, the eye stays the same.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
I think you hit a certain age and your eye's grown, and then you carry on shooting up a bit. But your eyes...
Yeah, no, the tuna's eye will definitely keep going. It keeps going
as they grow.
Yeah.
So do tuna feed at night?
A little bit, but not a lot. They mostly feed in the day. Yeah.
Okay. Again, that's because that's a visual thing.
Yeah. So we're looking at some data from some yellowfin tuna at the moment as well. So again, Jess is doing this as part of her PhD. And yellowfin tuna live in much more warm tropical waters, but they really do most of their foraging at like dawn and dusk, whereas tuna kind of are pretty much foraging all day. But so they're still active at night, but they're probably not foraging much at night. They do sometimes. I mean, we were catching tuna off whales for a while, and some of the tuna there were taking discards off trawlers at night.
Well, that's how they used to fish for them in Whitby.
Right.
So they used to go out, and so they'd have like a mothership sat out there. When you read about this in the Tuna Club book, it was, I can't remember the price of it, but to have a steam paddle boat out there with a full crew or something was like £25 a week.
Wow.
So they'd go out there, and then they'd have the rowing boats, and the netting boats used to call them in. They're dragging the nets in, and they'd see tuna in the net, and they'd row the skiffs out, and they'd free line dead herring.
Oh, wow.
And wait for the tuna to come and take it, and then the fight would commence.
Yeah.
Have you been to the Tuna Club?
No, I haven't yet. No.
Which is a fish and chip shop, so I visited that. Me and Mark Jury went up there. We even managed to get, they've got Tuna Club T-shirts, which the staff wear. We managed to blag some T-shirts out of them from the fish and chip shop, and then you go to Scarborough Museum, and they've got I couldn't work out if it was a taxidermied one or a big model of one, and then they've got a rod in line, there's hooks in rigs, how they were fishing, and then they've got all the old folders of, certificates in pictures of how they caught them and what was going on, cool. And some of the maps as well, because the guys that are fishing out of Whitby at the moment, for the couple of trips I did up there, they've got like a 3 mile mark and a 5 mile mark. But when you look at where those guys were going, they were out on Dogger Bank.
Right.
They were like 60 miles out.
Okay,
catching some of these fish. It was.
So the tuna that the Norwegians and the Danish and the Swedish have tracked are definitely in those sorts of areas as well. So I wonder if the tuna off the Yorkshire coast are the same as the Danish, Swedish, Norwegian fish. I wonder if you were to sample them genetically, if perhaps they're all the same group. Really, I don't know.
They've just started coming back this way a little bit further.
Yeah.
Do you think they just follow their nose and follow the food and?
Must do, yeah. I mean, why else would you bother to go somewhere? Well, mind you, having said which, the more animals I've tracked, the more sometimes wildlife doesn't make sense.
Oh, really?
You get populations of animals. Like during my PhD, I was tracking this population of sea turtles, and like 20% of them would go to the West African coast, find somewhere nice and shallow and warm, and just sit there and eat crabs and lobsters for like a year and have a lovely life. And then half of them thought they were some sort of extra out of Finding Nemo and would be like just whizzing around like 500,000 square kilometres of the West African kind of like coastline, just constantly moving everywhere. And it was like, make life easy on yourself, stop and have a crab, it'd be fine. But so wildlife does mad stuff. That's what I love about tracking, that you suddenly go, hang on a minute, this is much more complicated than I thought, and there's more stories than I thought, and you end up thinking, what is a tuna thinking? You don't get to do that with any other kind of way of studying animals.
Do you think humans put too much human thinking into a fish's head when they're coming up with some of these ideas that...
No, because we're all motivated by the same stuff, right? Food, sex, safety, and nice environmental conditions. I think it's it's common to. So, no, I don't think so. And ultimately, I think if all of us just think like I'm a conservation biologist, right? So and in the past, having worked on things like sea turtles or basking sharks, was always interesting because those were never animals where you would ever have an extractive industry, even if it was a non-lethal one like recreational fishing is in tuna. And one thing I've loved about working on the tuna is that you're as fascinated and you love them as much as we do. I mean, I don't love them. I'm not a tuna hugger, but I think they're fabulous creatures. I love that we share our waters with them, and I want to go out and see them too. That's why you go and fishing, right? Because you want to see them up close, and that's what I love about my job is that I get to go catch the wildlife and actually touch it. Like I love it when I go out. Like I go catching waterfowl on wading birds on Dawlish Warren sometimes, and I get to hold an oyster catcher or a godwit or something that other people just look at.
Is it an avocet?
Yeah, those are gorgeous. Yeah,
you see a lot of them on the River Dart.
Yeah,
beautiful birds.
Yeah, I love that. So anyway, I just think we kind of I think ascribing human emotions to animals isn't necessarily a bad thing. Helps you to be helps you to be nicer to the world around us, but also I think it's important that I love that you guys are getting out there to go see these animals. I think that really matters because then you care about them more, right? And we can talk about, as we have about fish feeling pain and whether them being hooked causes them to feel pain. And there is some mortality associated with recreational fishing. But ultimately, if
it's a very low number, isn't it?
It's quite, yeah. I mean, it's like single-digit percent.
It's a bit of a. I was having a conversation with one of the chart skippers about this, one of the original chart skippers, and when we did the first year of the recreational fishery last year, the mortality rate came out and it was substantially lower than the chart program was. And he was going, people aren't recording dead fish. In all the years I've been tuna fishing, I've seen one dead fish come in from, and it was on a charter boat I was working in, it had been foul hooked in the side, came in sideways, it was dead when it got there.
Yeah.
That's the one fish I've seen. I've caught quite a few tuna, one dead one. And I said to Sam, maybe the lads that are on the recreational fishery could actually be quite good anglers, and we just haven't had any die. And he's like, no, people are scared of losing their licence if they report a dead fish, it looks bad. So there is a bit of controversy around how many dead fish actually came in. But if I work it off what I've seen, most guys who have got a recreational licence are highly respectful of what goes on. We play by the rules. We're fishing, we're using... I think the spinning gear definitely loses you quite a lot of fish. The line, they go back into the bust, you get snapped off. I'm guessing that hook comes out pretty quickly because we're not catching fish with hooks hanging out of their mouths. I've caught some of those I've pulled some Spanish longline hooks out. They've got the spade hooks.
Whoa.
And you could tell it had been in for ages because it actually made, where the bit of line was running down the side of its face, it made an indent. It was right in the corner of the scissors.
Wow.
That's the only time I've pulled a fish out with a hook still in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was saying, there's not been enough dead fish reported. I was like, well, maybe we're actually... People don't give us any credit. You think we're just running around, charging around all over the place, just trying to catch anything.
Yeah.
Maybe we were a little bit better than you give us credit for, and we can actually catch some fish.
Totally.
And chart was also the first 3 years of people legally catching tuna, so there was going to be some mortality because they're learning on their feet, aren't they?
Yeah.
The recovery, this goes wrong, maybe we'll change these hooks, this tactic doesn't work.
Yeah. And you're always going to get like freak accidents occur. Like we had one fish that we brought in and it must have got hooked in the gill arch, and then at some point when it was underwater the gill arch snapped and the hook must have reset in the scissors. By the time the fish came to the boat it wasn't bleeding because it probably had bled out. So it came up to the boat and we thought, oh, this fish looks all right, and then we tagged it, put it back in the water to recovery tow it, and it was like, this fish is not doing very well. So we pulled it back onto the boat and euthanized it, which is what we have to do according to our license.
Did you take the tag back out?
Well, we looked in its mouth and we were like, oh my god, there's your gills, like right in the front of your mouth, and it was like, why are your gills there? Like, so then we realised what had happened, so we took the tag out and reused it. But there will always be freak accidents like that happening. To me, the greater good is that if we've got more people who want to advocate for keeping these fish around, the recreational fishery is really powerful for that.
Do you think the recreational fishery is a good thing?
Yeah, I think it probably is. Yeah, because you're advocates for healthy oceans that have great top predators in them.
Is there not a way of getting the recreational fishery more involved with this side of things?
Well, this is what we've always kind of done is worked with you to catch the fish. Because of the irritating licensing I told you about earlier, you can only hold a personal license which allows you to actually do the satellite tagging if you belong to an institution that has an ethical review board, blah, 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 blah. It's all very boring, but it means that we can't derogate the tagging to an angler, which is annoying.
What about the
identity tags you can do, the little yellow spaghetti tags. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you're allowed to do that. And Chart was handing those out, I think. But I don't know what's happened with the new recreational fishery.
We've done no tagging.
Okay,
There's been no tagging since the end of Chart.
Because it's really useful.
Mark's doing it out of his own pocket or out of his own just love of the fishery. So I think somebody reached out to him or he reached out to them and he's just doing it. Yeah.
Because there's a thing called capture, mark, recapture where you literally just catch some animals, mark some of them and then see how many you get back again. So if you've got 100 fish, you go fishing and you tag 50 of them and then you never see any of them again. You might be like, well, that's probably because the population is so massive that my chance of ever seeing one again was so small. Or you go fishing and you catch half of them again and you're like, okay, the population can't be that big if I've managed to, by literally random drawing balls out of a pot, I've managed to find half the fish again. So it gives you a bit of an indication about how big the population is.
I've never seen a tagged fish.
Yeah, you see, and
I've never caught a fish with a tagged fish, and we're probably, I don't know how many tuna I've caught, but hundreds.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a tagged fish.
Yeah.
Or a recap. I've seen fish tagged, but I've never seen a recaptured fish with a tag in it.
Yeah. I think how many fish we have here in UK waters is really important to know. And we can't talk about how much pressure the quota that we have puts on these fish if we don't know how many there are. In my opinion.
Tens of thousands.
Right.
And is my guess.
Or it could be 100,000.
Yeah.
We don't know.
It's in the tens minimum.
Yeah.
Just by that. So that bus that we saw on there, that day, they were there. Like, we were out on last Wednesday. Me and Don were fishing about 10 miles due east to Start Point. And as we're hooked up to a fish, there was 10 busts going on around us. And that's in November with a water temperature of 13.5.
Right.
And it's still loaded with fish out there,
Yeah.
all up on the surface. Birds going in everywhere, bait all over the screen.
So cool.
And they're just, each one of those, they're on the surface there, but what's going on down here? How many, is there, when you look at one of those and you say, okay, is there like a multiplier to go X amount are still underneath the surface, or do they not?
Yeah, and the tagging data is really good for that because we know how much time they spend that close to the surface. So because we've now tracked, so we tagged 164 fish, but not all of those had a satellite tracker on that gives you the location, but most of them did. So we can tell you how much time they would spend in the top 10 metres of the water. We call that like sort of surface availability, but so how often you'd actually see them there. So you could do an aerial survey or a drone survey or whatever, or look at how many busts there were, and then say, well, actually, if the average tuna is only at the surface or only within sort of 5 metres of the surface, I can spot it 10% of the time, then I could say 90% of those fish might be below that. So, yeah, you can start to multiply that up. Yeah, the tagging data is needed for all that stuff.
There are a lot of fish in our waters. There's no getting away from it. We had one of the American guys come over from one of the brands. He was like, you don't understand how good you guys have got it. Yeah. There's a lure I sell, Ron's, which are an American company, and I send him photos all the time of like if we've been using his stuff, one hanging out the side of a tuna's mouth, and he's like, I can see land in your picture. We're like, yeah, we're probably 5 miles out. He's like, I went tuna fishing the other day. We had to do 100 miles just to get out to where we thought the tuna would be.
Yeah.
Whereas we've got it right on our doorstep.
I know, it's nuts. Well, because for me, my background was I used to have to get on a plane and go to another continent to go and catch the sexy wildlife. I'd go and be like, I'm so lucky to be able to study this amazing creature. And now it's like I get to get out of my own bed, get on a boat, go tag a fish, come back and go to bed in my own bed that same night. And that's so novel for me. I love it. It's so cool.
Do you find it when you were doing the tagging over here, they preferred a certain depth of water? Or were they just...
Well, interesting. I was listening to one of your other podcast episodes where I think someone was saying that the tuna probably get shooed out when the water temperature gets to about 8 or 9 degrees
Celsius.
Celsius.
Single digits.
Yeah.
That's Mark Jury's theory on it.
Right.
Single digits.
So I had a master's student last year use all the tagging data and put it into this kind of like habitat suitability model. So it's kind of like a way of saying like, based on where we've seen the tuna, can we predict where we would see the tuna? Matches perfectly with Mark Jury. So when it gets to about 9.5, that's when you tend to see the tuna leaving. So it definitely is quite temperature dependent. And that's quite cool because in the US, they used to have this thing called Turtle Watch, and it was like a satellite product thing that you could download, and it would tell you the relative chance of a turtle being wherever you're fishing. And that was done to stop people catching turtles by mistake in like gill nets and stuff.
Yeah.
But you could have Tuna Watch here, where you could have this like live satellite product that would say like, oh, I want to go fishing off Start Point, like based on the latest oceanography coming down from the satellite data, what are my chances there's going to be a tuna there today? It'd be really cool. And we can do that. We've got the data because of the tracking tags that we've got.
That would be pretty cool.
Cool, wouldn't it?
Make fishing even easier.
I know. Yeah, it'd be really cool. And it makes monitoring even easier as well. So where should you bother to go and fly your aerial survey to count your fish if you wanted to do something like that? Or, yeah.
Have you seen any information in the data about tide playing anything to do with their feeding times?
We haven't looked properly for that. We have talked about it in the past because we reckon that slack tide might be quite a good time.
We talk about this. Yeah, we're always gunning for that slack tide. We find them on. I'm not so observant on this stage, but Mordecai and Dom are convinced about the slack time periods. And Tim and Jack talk about it as well. They're up on the surface for longer. Washing machining away on that slack tide. We've got, because every time we get one of these tags physically back, we've got this data that gives us every 5 seconds what the tuna's up to, so we can put all that stuff together. So we can do that with the data. Problem is getting people to do it because there's just so much data. There's just not enough of us to analyse everything. It's just Is it quite a small team?
Yeah, it's more just getting funding for people really. So we normally have PhD students are kind of our workhorses that we kind of
give them some stuff.
Analyze this. Tell me what this is happening. Jess, Katie, do this. Like we just kind of like force these people to do the stuff for us. It's great. Yeah,
it's good to have a team around you though to do that. I'm guessing everybody's as passionate as you about it. They're not just. Are they doing PhDs in tagging in general, or are they specialising in tuna?
So we had Tom Horton, whose whole PhD was on the tuna. We've got Jess, whose whole PhD is on the tuna, but specifically on the accelerometry, which is accelerometry is the science of measuring acceleration. What a name! But acceleration, by which we mean like how does an animal move forwards, backwards, left, right, and up and down. So if your tuna's like barrel rolling around a fish school, you can kind of pick that up. So it gives you like the behaviour, what the fish is up to. Got Galia, whose whole PhD is on bluefin, but also she's got trout in the lab that she uses as like a little surrogate mini tuna to do experiments on things like gill irrigation when we're trying to tag them on the deck. So she's doing it on that. We've got Francesco, who works on sharks, and then we've got a couple of new students coming online soon, hopefully. But yeah.
So with that
I know.
I can't even say the word.
It's such
with them going fast, we use that one. Do tuna have to constantly swim?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they
don't ever go down the bottom because you see like sharks and stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen stuff with sharks just sitting on the bottom.
Yeah.
People say sharks have to continuously swim.
Yeah, some do, some don't. Some are quite good at gulping water and forcing it over their gills, but no, the tuna are constantly moving. Yeah.
So they don't ever.
I bet you're like that as well, aren't you?
That's ADHD. That's a different problem. I can't sit still.
Tuna or ADHD.
I can't sit still. Do fish sleep?
Yeah. They can, yeah. So there's a brand new kind of technology that's out at the moment to actually measure brainwave activity in animals. Never been done in fish yet, but people have done that on seals. And there was a really cool study in California where they put this special hat on a seal, and it had like these electrodes.
A rugby scrum hat.
Yeah, it did look a lot like that. And the seal starts diving underwater. This is an elephant seal, and then it falls asleep at about.
They didn't mess around. They got
meters.
A big seal to do that with.
Yeah, massive. But it falls asleep, and she goes like belly up, and she's just like floating down through, like just spiraling down underwater. Fast asleep, starts going into REM sleep, so like proper like dreaming sleep. This little seal underwater, like I think goes out 260 odd meters before it wakes up and comes back up again. But so we can measure that.
You see seals sleeping on the pontoons in Brixham when we're getting ice and stuff in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely sparked out.
Yeah.
So what's it like with the tuna then? Are they? I'm guessing nobody's ever measured this, but they're not. It's not like eyelids shut.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Yeah. So brains are obviously very expensive things to run, take a lot of oxygen, take a lot of energy, and at some point you usually have to clear metabolic byproducts and stuff out of the brain, and that's what sleep helps to do. So when you feel really, really sleepy, it's this thing called sleep pressure, and it's because your brain needs to clear various compounds out of your brain tissue. So when you go to sleep, you kind of change the patterns of electrical activity in your brain. I'm not a sleep expert, but anyway.
You sound like one.
Well, I just happened to listen to a few things about the seals.
Get a side job selling mattresses to people.
There you go. Oh, I'd love that. No, so your brain has to kind of shut down a bit, and almost all animals except for humans can do what's called unihemispheric sleep. So you sleep half of your brain at a time. So birds can do this when they're migrating. And they've showed that especially birds that kind of like, they do that spiral in the sky to gain altitude, they can go to sleep on the side that's on the inside of the spiral because they're just seeing the same thing all the time, and they keep the side outside awake so that they can spot any predators coming, but otherwise they fall asleep in the middle and spiral up through the sky. It's madness. Apparently we can do unihemispheric sleep to some extent. So whenever you travel somewhere, your first night, you never sleep very well when you travel. Apparently that's because half of your brain isn't actually very well asleep. It's basically asleep, but it's not really very well asleep.
Right, okay.
I just got told this in July by the lady who did the seal study.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Anyway, we'd love to put a special hat on a tuna and measure its brain activity.
Yeah.
Mind you, its brain is deep down in there, so it's going to be quite hard, but still.
Because they have to rest at some point.
Yeah.
But you never see like a pod of tuna just bobbing around on the side of the water.
People would say this about you too, though, Andy, wouldn't they? He must rest at some point, but he's constantly bobbing around.
He doesn't rest.
There you go. You
drives
see?
my wife up the wall. She's like, "Can we just sit and watch a movie?" And I'm like, "No, we can't." Are you watching that foam thing fall off as well? I was watching it slowly peel off.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Bit of door.
Soundproofing problems. I blame the bloke who put them up. Yeah, no, it's... Are there any fish that sleep, or are they all on that same sort of... There's just been no studies done on them?
I don't think there's been anything done on brain activity in wild fish at all. Pretty sure there hasn't. I think it's still such a new field. It's been done in birds and it's been done in seals, but I think that's about it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not known.
Do you think the commercial fishery is a good thing?
Well, I read about a restaurant in London which I'd like to go to. So I don't actually eat seafood, but
I
kind
don't
of.
either. I like massive prawns.
Yeah, I
big
love
langoustine prawns, and
yeah.
I like lobster. Rest of it, I'm not interested in.
I mean, I feel very guilty because I do like seafood, but because I'm a marine biologist, I was just a bit like, put your money where your mouth is, Lucy, and stop eating fish. But I love fish. But there was apparently this restaurant in London where they get a bluefin in and they literally like talk you through the fish and cut different servings of it off and prepare them for you.
Well, Mark's got a processing plant. So this year, and all his fish in the commercial fishery have gone straight to his processing plant. It's called Hook to Plate.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all, so you get a bar when you order your whatever cut of the fish, it's all done in-house at their place. You get a barcode, you can see where that fish was caught.
Yeah.
So they'll track, they'll pin exactly what part of the ocean they caught it in.
Yeah.
Was it Salcombe, was it Plymouth, was it here, was it there? And it's caught on their boat with their vehicles taken back to their processing plant. And then Lance, his son-in-law, is the one cutting it all up, and it's amazing what they do. He keeps inviting me up there all the time, but it's in the New Forest. But if you wanted to go look at that, that's not a problem.
No, that'd be amazing. But I think anything that like where you sort of like reduce the length of that chain between where your food comes from and you eating it is a good thing for the planet. Like, I mean, we all eat KFC or whatever, but they're probably fairly rubbish chickens. They probably had a pretty terrible life.
Yeah, horrendous life.
But they are delicious, sadly. But I think like the idea that a British consumer can go, I want to have a British caught bluefin that was caught off Newlyn, and I know who caught it. I can see the name of the boat. That's like, if we all ate like that, the world would be a much better place. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And we're not talking about a lot of fish that we've got quota for either. And even if we go up, even if we get what we want at ICAT next year, we're still not talking about a massive amount of fish that we're taking. And
yeah, I've heard the numbers that they've sort of half agreed with, and it's not. They went for 350. They came back with a lower number, which is still a substantially bigger number.
Yeah.
And then they've gone back to try and push for a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you pay much attention to the licensing side of things with the MMO and how they do any of that?
No, we steered clear of that. So in the early days, we were invited to be part of CHART, as in to join CFAS in that side of it. But we felt it was really important to stick to our lane. Like, we're scientists, we do tracking stuff, we make maps, we understand behaviour of animals. We don't do legislation, we don't do policy. Yeah. I mean, what we collect, what we do is relevant for all of that management and licensing stuff, but we're not experts in it. And so we just thought, actually, should we get involved in it anyway? Plus, it also sounds like a bit of a hot potato, but that wasn't the reason.
It is like
the reason was just like it's not our expertise. It wouldn't be right for us to try and stick our oar in there, so we never did. So we were never formally part of CHART at all.
Okay.
For only that reason, but I'm proud that the scientific work that we did enabled us to start to set up an industry where people can interact more with these. Because they're really cool, these fish, aren't they? Like, they're sexy.
Tuna, I can see tuna trips coming. People go to watch dolphins.
Yeah.
And watch, you go watch seals, watch dolphins. Tuna trips might become a thing.
Yeah.
Because people want to see them, but not everybody wants to go fishing.
Yeah.
And you could
I know Mombo mentioned that in his article in The Guardian, didn't he? And it was like, yeah, cool. But
the guy who did, is this the guy who really rubbished our fishery?
Yeah, in The Guardian.
He's a fly fisherman.
Yes, I know.
The cheeky bugger is a fly fisherman who goes around hooking trout, releasing them. We hook tuna. We release them.
Yeah.
Called us testosterone fields. It was a really... He came across as some super woke left-wing bloke who's moved out of London down to Devon and now wants to preach to us about a load of stuff without a huge amount of information.
Yeah.
Because he's no scientist, is he?
No, I don't believe he has a science PhD.
He's a fisherman.
I think in the early days, when all of this started, I think everybody feared that that's who we would be. And we did have teething problems getting people to trust us. Well, they didn't know us, so why would they trust us? But I think for a long time, people might have thought that we just wanted to just kind of collect some data and ensure a fishery never happened. And that was never our objective. Our objective was just we wanted to find out more about these animals because they were cool. And it's been really nice that over the years we've kind of got to know so many of the skippers and anglers and become friends with people, and like they know us, and I think they trust us now. And like I say, we're all equally super fascinated by these fish, and we all want to go out and see them together. So, and I'd love to go snorkeling with them. But do you remember at the tournament last year, there was a guy they took along, was an underwater photographer, and they were plopping him in the middle of bait balls to get some shots. And he seemed like a pretty robust kind of lad.
Was that Aaron who was with me?
It might have been Aaron.
That's the guy who got the drone footage. Yeah,
so he came back and he was like, "Oh my God, that was absolutely terrifying." And I was like, "Oh, I really
that wouldn't have been Aaron
that.
then. I think that might have been their videographer, because Aaron really wants to do it. He wants to get in the middle of them.
Yeah, I do.
And I went, I don't know how I feel about putting you off the side of my boat and then you getting smashed to pieces, and all I'm getting is your expensive camera back and you're never seen again. And it's because you wouldn't want to get hit by one of those.
No, it'd be really scary. It was a tuna tournament in Falmouth last year, and it was an underwater photographer, and he looked absolutely terrified when he came back. He was like, "Oh my God, that was really scary." But I was like, "I want to do it. But I always like that sort of stuff. But it would be cool. But yeah, if you got
on the
hit,
days when the clarity's good, you wouldn't even have to get that close to them. You could be sat off the side of it.
But imagine ending up in Truro Hospital and they'd be like, "What happened to you? Well, like, how are your ribs broken?" "I got hit by bluefin tuna." That'd be amazing.
What was the data they got from when they're going around in that bus? What speed were they hitting in that?
Well, the tag doesn't measure speed quite like that. It just measures acceleration, which is like a change of speed. So you could just kind of see them like
in
darting
a percentage
around. So every 5 seconds you get like an idea about how much it's accelerating. We've never zoomed in on the data enough to look at the busts. We could do that, but we haven't so far. But we could do that.
What's the most fascinating thing you've learned from tagging about tuna?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think the fact that they're coming back here to like exactly the same place, like the place we catch them, they're coming back there again, having then been everywhere else in between. So they leave here, some of them are going halfway across the Atlantic, some go all the way to Turkey, and then they come right back again. So we could be seeing the same fish every single time.
So they used to have the fishery in Scarborough. In that, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Tunny Club.
I have it. I have a copy. I've kind of flicked through it. I haven't read it properly.
So Colonel Peel, who is
not a Cluedo character.
He's wicked. He's a proper boy. He is proper aristocrat, ex-military, very wealthy family. He took his boat down to Cornwall to try and catch them down there. And although they hooked a couple, they never saw the numbers that they had up in Whitby.
Yeah.
So all those fish disappeared in Whitby. It seemed we never really had the fish down here, but then they've turned up. But they know to turn up here. So you're thinking, okay, your great granddad of a tuna at some point is come over here to put that natural instinct. Do you think it's a natural instinct they're coming back here, and their relatives right down the line were here way before we even had any form of fishery, like maybe the 1800s or something, when people weren't paying attention, like the Tunny Club stuff. We had fish in our waters down here on the south coast, and that's sort of hardwired into them to come back. Or do you think this is a brand new stock of fish which are just following their nose in food in warmer waters?
So you can definitely get genes that tell you where to go. So butterflies, for example, like monarch butterflies in America, they'll leave Canada, they'll migrate down over the US into Mexico, they reproduce, die, the eggs hatch, and the eggs migrate back to Canada where the parents came from. So the offspring never met their parents. They were dead by the time they hatched, but they knew exactly how to get back to Canada again. Can only be genetically encoded. So if something as simple as a butterfly can do that, then a tuna definitely can.
Do they know that about the butterflies because of the migration, or is there a way when they've worked on butterflies that you can see the gene coding in there?
So we've also looked at the genes in them as well. Yeah. So sometimes you get errant butterflies that might do something slightly different, but we know it's the ones that are doing it because you can put little stickers on their wings with like a number, so you can actually track an individual butterfly and see it arrive and stuff.
Has anybody looked at the genes of tuna?
There has been quite a bit done on it. I don't know enough about genetics to know too much, but you can tell all sorts of stuff, and there will be like, for instance, you can see if particular genes get kind of like turned on and start working and start causing effects in the body, and you can look for that by taking a sample in one place and a sample in somewhere else. But so I bet there's a genetic element of them kind of knowing to come back to here. But then there's also man-made kind of decisions too. So there was a really cool study done in Italy where they were looking at how pigeons navigated around the place, and they were letting these pigeons go and letting them fly back to their loft. And so they were saying, they're using the Earth's magnetic field, or they're using light levels or whatever. But they discovered after a couple of weeks the pigeons just learned to follow the highway instead, and they were taking like junction 27, and that was like the most reliable way they could get back to so it could be, I'm not saying that tuna are looking at landmarks on the sky, but wildlife can
could be
very
following
flexible.
certain what's the word, you get the different contour lines in the ocean.
Yeah.
Do you think they could be following that?
It could be something like that. So loads of animals can detect the Earth's magnetic field. Like butterflies can do it, birds can do it. Birds can actually apparently see the magnetic field as well. They've got these like quantum crystals in their eyes, apparently, that can help them actually see polarized light, a bit like we do with our fancy sunglasses. Madness. But so tuna probably have all sorts of different means of navigating around and understanding where they are, which sounds nuts, but apparently we humans do retain some of this. It's just, I don't know about you, but I get lost very easily.
Well, I've got really good sense of direction. I'm
Have
fine.
you?
Yeah.
I'm terrible.
No.
Don't ever follow me.
Well, you made it here.
That's true.
Yeah, you did really well. Straight to the corner. It was
sent
perfect.
me a pin, though.
I did send the pin. Yeah, but pins. Yeah. So, if they're coming to our coasts, why are they not swimming all the way to the States, or just doing laps around the whole planet, following food, what's making them only come this far, do you think, and then making them go back to the Med every time and not just...
My guess would be because there's enough food here. Like, why keep moving if there's enough food? You know, they get here, there's plenty of food to keep them here, so you just stay here. There's other fish around that are helping you to... Because also, that you know, in these big bust-ups, you know, these tuna are working cooperatively to sort of herd the shoals of fish into a lump that they can get easier. So you want to stick around with others to make hunting easier. So there's probably an element of that going on as well.
Do you think a bust has all the same age of fish in it? Or are they moving around from bust to bust, from group to group, or those pods?
Do tuna have friends?
Yeah, or are they in like year classes, or is it...
Yeah.
Because you'd have, like, we'll be fishing, the fish go down, and then they pop up over there, and you're like, that's not those fish that have just popped, that's another pod of fish over there.
Yeah.
So those fish moving from pod to pod and working together, do you think?
We don't know, but there is a technology we can use to solve this. So about 60 of our fish are wearing, in addition to these tags, what's called an acoustic tag. So acoustic obviously means like sound. So these tags just emit a sound, and so they emit a coded sound that gives a particular like unique ID. And what we do is we put listening stations on the seabed that listen for the fish coming past. So you can be like, oh, I've just heard from 18705 or whatever. And so about 60 of our fish are going around with those. Problem is, you're limited to some extent by how many base stations you've got listening out for the fish coming past.
Is that those yellow buoys down on the ocean?
That's it. Yeah, those ones. Yeah. So if you had a bunch, if you tagged enough fish with the acoustic tags, of different sizes, and then you had those listening stations on the seabed near where you had bust-ups happening, you'd be able to detect how many fish were there, and you'd be like, oh, I've got 2 big ones and 4 little ones. So yeah, there is a mix of animals there. The problem with the base stations is they're expensive. They're about 10 grand a piece, and you have to service them, so you have to pull them up off the seabed every 6 months and change out the batteries and the memory cards, and it just takes a lot. A guy in Hull, actually, called John Bolland, is hoping to set up an array that would be in partnership with the angling industry, so that we would actually work with you to train you up into how to service these things and let you have full access to the data and involve you in tagging the fish, so that actually we would discover these fish's behaviour together, which would be lovely.
That's one of the things I think is... I'm not going to say scientists or the MMO or whoever at DEFRA are missing a trick. There's so many guys like myself who would more than happy just go, well, we're going out fishing anyway today.
Yeah.
What do you want us to do?
Yeah.
You know, we're clever enough to skipper a boat out into the ocean, catch fish, and return them safely. I'm pretty sure we can master the rest of it.
Totally. Because in the end, it's all about having some ownership of the science as well, right? Like, that's what's been so different for me on this project compared to all the other stuff I've done, is that we've done it with you. We couldn't have done it without you, because I'm not an angler. I felt like a bit of a fraud coming on this, because I was like, I'm actually not an angler. But it's been important not to be an angler in a way, because I think
it takes some of the preconceived ideas. You're only guided, as they said in COVID, by the science.
Yeah.
That's all you're interested in.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas as anglers, we've got all our preconceived ideas. Oh, there's these silverfish, and they only hang out here, and we see fish in racing. The slack tide's the best bit, and they're eating all the pollock, and we've got all these different ideas.
Yeah.
And I think some of that science will probably knock a load of that out and make a more...
Yeah.
Have a more rounded vision of what's actually going on within our fishery, instead of getting a bit...
And tracking is so fun because when you just make a map of something, like you don't have to have a degree in anything to look at a map and go, oh my God, the fish went where? You know, it's quite easy science that we do, really.
We had it when we got the one back from...
Yeah.
So Martin tagged this in the Bay of Biscay, and he rung me up and he was like, oh, it's like 12 miles from where you keep your boat. It was actually about 25 miles, and there was a weather window of 3 hours in between that massive storm, can't remember the name of it, where the wind changed direction. He was like, yeah, we can get out there. And I was like, mate, it's been blowing its nuts off for 4 days straight. It's huge out there. He's like, no, we'll go and get it. Oh. And once we got it, and he gave me all the info, you can see this. And there's like the Bay of Biscay. What's first, Portugal or the Bay of Biscay? Bay of Biscay. Bay of Biscay, Portugal. And then it sort of comes around and you've got the English Channel and it's going and then it comes off. And the amount of movement that fish did, and you could see it after he tagged it, it did a bit of a runner back down again, and then spun around and came back up, and then it hung around near where it had been tagged, and it was just doing these little circles, and then it was up in Portugal, and then up it came, and it got
so cool.
Yeah, it was amazing how much they actually move. And if you got that, when you did your talk down in Falmouth, you had the map of how they run. Where do we find that?
Well, so all of the scientific papers, as we call them, that we've published are available online for free. Could I send them to you to put on your Facebook page?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, 100%. Is there a way we can call up that tracking, or is that something that you had on your laptop?
We could go looking for the paper now if you want to.
Where would Aaron find it?
So if you go, so the easiest thing actually is to go to scholar.google.com. It's like a version of Google, but it's like looks up scientific papers. It's quite cool. Scholar.google.com, and then search for like bluefin tuna UK or something like that. And it should bring up Tom Horton's paper that was published this year. And that'll have that big old map in it.
Yeah, because that was impressive.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And that was only 49 of the fish. That isn't even all the fish that we've got. So we've got even more than that we haven't published yet.
Do you know what the paper is actually called?
It's called something like Annual Migrations, something.
Vertical habitat and
that's the one.
Good, isn't he?
He's a researcher. Look at that. That's the one. Annual Migrations, Vertical Habitat Use. Click on that, and this takes you to and then if you scroll down, it will bring up the keep going down. You'll see the map. It will come eventually. Keep going. It's all the sort of. Oh, there we go. Yeah. There you go. So that's like, 49 fishes worth of whooshing around. It's mad, isn't it? I think that's what just blows my mind, that I'm just like, wow, this fish that's like, I can, like I said, get out of my own bed, go out for the day, find this fish and come back again. And then in between, that fish is making it most of the way to Nova Scotia and possibly going all the way to Greece as well.
So this colour here, this turquoise, is that one fish?
No, so this is 45 fish all on top of one another. And the colours are used to show different areas. So
they went right out into the North Atlantic.
Yeah. Yeah, and others
Celtics, the Channel.
And the ones in the Med there, that's different fish, but you'll see some of them are going off the Spanish coast of Balearic, some are going down to the Libyan coast, some are going all over to Greece and Turkey.
But they're all coming back up through...
Straits of Gibraltar.
Up through Gib to go and breed.
Yeah.
That is the breeding grounds.
Yeah, so someone's actually got a network of these listening stations listening out for those acoustic tags is across the Straits of Gibraltar, so we should pick up every fish as it goes in and out of the Straits of Gibraltar as well. Yeah, and those tags last about 6 years, so we should keep knowing about that for a long time. But I'll ping you the papers to put on your Facebook page.
We'll do some of that as we launch some of this, because we're going to clip some of this up.
Yeah, actually, Hannah Rudd from the Angling Trust had a really good suggestion to ask us to make a kind of a more like, because you have to read through all the boring scientific details on those papers. She asked us if we could make a more user-friendly kind of animation or a more short like TLDR
like a
version.
pinpoint.
Yeah.
Statement, bit of,
Yeah, just something a bit easier to digest than having to read all the boring stuff.
How many papers have you done on tuna now?
We've got, so Tom's got one on sightings data, one on Irish tracking, one on something to do with the complexity of how you use tracking data, the UK one. Jess has got two, the one on what happens to the fish after you release them, one on the orca eating the tuna. So 6 so far. but loads more we can do. And we haven't yet stuck our British data together with any other sets of tracking data that have been collected on tuna across the Atlantic, and that's the next big thing to do, I think. Be really cool.
It's non-stop, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's just so much. There's so much to discover about these fish still. Like
It's
now
an
we know
ever-evolving thing, I'm guessing. You do one thing, and that leads to going asking another question in, okay, now we'll go and do this, and now we'll go and do that.
And the thing I'm spending all my time on at the moment is trying to get money to do more stuff. That's what's really tricky in science these days, because there's a limited pot of money to do stuff. So we had money from the EU before and some money from DEFRA. DEFRA won't give us any more money now because they've done their kind of statutory scientific stuff. So they're not going to give us any more money. So
was that so that they could implement the fisheries?
Yeah, they kind of couldn't go and ask for quota unless they'd done some scientific work. Kind of had to tick that box, really.
Right, okay.
So it worked for us because we got the money to get the tracking going. But finding money for science is an art. It's always because
they can find money for an Apache attack helicopter.
I know,
but they can't find money for things like this.
But this is where working with the fishing industry is great, because you guys are actually quite a noisy bunch of stakeholders. People love to kind of like complain to their MPs, write to them, and MPs want to listen to fishermen too. Like, fishing has always been this very totemic special part of our economy that people
totemic.
Well, as in,
I've
like,
never heard that word.
Well,
that's an amazing word.
People want to sort of hold it up as a totem and be like, look, like at Brexit, there was a lot of talk about the fishing industry with Brexit. Yeah. So I think the great British public wants to support fishing. They feel strongly
especially
about
in the southwest.
Yeah.
Where we are sat now, we've got Brixham.
Yeah.
5 miles over there, one of the biggest fish markets in the UK.
Right.
An old fishing port. Then you've got the guys down in Plymouth. Then you go down, you've got Newlyn, which, I don't think the fish quay... Yeah, there is a fish quay down there still. A lot of the Cornish guys are sending their tuna down there. It's old, you've got Mevagissey, you've got Lou, you've got... Oh, God, I've got no name Cornish places now as is Devonian. I'm going to get absolutely killed here. Penzance, Mousel, Sennen Cove, where they're still launching them down, blocks of wood and launching them down off the beach and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We've got a bass fishery at Start Point where the guys are coming off the beach from Slapton and B-Sands. Every sort of those seaside towns all have fishing history to them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we... together, hopefully we can get more money, because ultimately just be noisy, yell at the government, try and get us some money to do stuff with you.
Is there anything that we can do as anglers to do that, or is it literally go to the MP and just say...
There are some pots of money that we can't apply for with at the university that you can. So if anybody spots pots of money that are like relevant for tuna fishing, then and you need a scientific partner, then we're always keen to be involved, and we're quite good at doing the tagging now, and hopefully people like us, which is good, because it's always life's too short to work with people you don't like, really. So we're nice people to work with, but I guess also just lobbying MPs and stuff to just be like, actually, because with regards to the UK fishery, yes, we know now pretty well what fish from the southwest do, but actually it turns out the fish that we were studying over the last 7 years probably aren't quite the same as the fish that are there now. Like you say, there's a lot of diversity of sizes. Like most of the fish that we tagged as part of Tunnus UK were maybe like 1.50 metre to about 2.4 metres was maybe the biggest fish we ever had. Sorry, I should have looked at what that is in pounds.
Not in pounds, because all our tape measures are in inches for some reason.
No, what do you do inches from? The fishing industry does inches, don't they? I'm going to have to
convert.
I know.
It's
I have to convert.
Yeah, it's... Yeah, anyway, we saw the last couple of... 2023 and 24, there was loads of small fish. The fish that turned up this year at the start of the season, they were wired different. They were turbocharged. We caught our first fish.
Were they hangry, do you reckon?
Oh, they were fuming, starving, tamping mad. We're fighting on the commercial boat from the gunnel, 130 rods, 80 class reels, big braid, and we've hooked the first one of the season, and we're like, this is massive. And this 62-inch fish pops up. And me and Colin are like, we're out of practice, because that fish did not want to come in at all.
Wow.
But for everyone was saying at the beginning of the season how just turbocharged they were. The fight was unbelievable with them. And I've caught a better stamp of fish this year than I have in the previous couple of years. Now, I don't know if it's because we're doing a lot less bar fishing, we're doing a lot of live baiting. That definitely singles out some bigger fish. Because you weren't allowed to live bait for them, were you?
No, our home office licence wouldn't allow us to do that, but live baiting's become a big part of the recreational fishing industry now, right? So we need to know like what kind of effect that has on the fish. So I talked about the fish sulking earlier. Maybe
fight time's longer.
Yeah, so maybe that causes the fish to sulk a little bit more or less, and it's interesting to know.
On that, you just made me think of something. There was a boat which we'll rename nameless that went up to where we've been fishing at Start the other day and caught one of those fish on a live bait. Tried fishing them for bars, couldn't catch them. Had them on a live bait. The guy fought it for 2 hours stand up and then an hour and a half from the gunnel. Do you think there's a fight time where those fish just almost cook themselves and they just...
I bet there is, and we don't know what it is yet. As part of chart, one of the only things that we said we thought was worth doing was putting tags on the tuna. So we have some that only stay on for 30 days and basically tell you whether the fish survived or not. So the fish might die immediately, but it could die a couple of weeks later from side effects of the fight. And so a bunch of those were put out with chart. CFAS took control of that study, so we don't know what happened to that data.
They won't share the information?
Not at the moment, no.
Why?
I think they've just been too busy. I'm being kind to them and assume they've just been too busy at the moment. But
Who's this, CFAS?
This is CFAS.
CFAS, stop being busy. Share the data.
I know, but that was only for trolling. So we don't know anything about live baiting. We don't know about jigging, popping. We don't know anything about that. So those I think would all be worth knowing a bit more about. Plus, also, it's just another way that we get to work together because, like, if let's say for instance live baiting causes really long fight times and the fish like 50% of them die, then we need to know that, and then you guys can then make a decision whether you want to say okay maybe we do less live baiting.
Live baiting definitely singles out bigger fish.
Yeah,
there's no two ways about that.
And you're then going to get a longer fight time every time.
And you haven't got a big bar dragging, so that tires the fish down. You know, as it accelerates off, it's got a bar in all this metal, which is gonna.
It's like trying to swim with a Christmas tree.
Yeah, it's like trying to run with holding onto sandbags, and you know, you just it brings that fight time down. There's definitely if you caught an 80-inch fish on a bar versus on a live bait, you'd have that fish to the side of the boat on the bar in sub 20 minutes. On a live bait, you're going to be up around the 50-minute mark.
Right. Yeah.
We've got our fight times down quite a lot. We've worked out a couple of tricks I'll tell you off air because Dom will kill me if I say this out loud. But we've got a couple of tricks we've been doing now to bring the fight time down, and we're also, one of the things we are doing, which you won't mind me saying, is that fish goes on its first run. Instead of just trawling the boat away, we actually turn the boat, and I'll be on the helm. So I'm sat on the helm, the guy on the rod, I've got the line in front of me, and we're chasing that fish back down again, getting all the line back onto the reel, and then we'll get it will come round, it will come tight, it will come down underneath the boat, and it will run again, and then we'll repeat the process, and we'll chase it down each time. So instead of trying to let it run and then dragging it back to the boat, we're taking the boat to the fish, and every time it has that initial run, we're then fighting it, and within 20 minutes of doing that fish is sort of just under the boat and it stops running.
Is this when you're landing them for commercial take?
No, recreationally.
And is that just because you just don't want to have a mammoth great big fight? Because I know there's a bit of a tension in that if you've got someone who might have saved up their money and they want to come like have the almighty fight of a lifetime with a fish, maybe they don't want to minimise the fight time, but I don't know.
I don't think you need to have a massive fight time.
It's still going to be a pretty hard fight.
Yeah, it's still brutal. It's still brutal. I'll show you, where's Tim the other day? This was hilarious. He was using my kit. I fish quite light. I use a 30-50 class rod with a Talica 50. I used to fish really heavy and really agricultural, but...
Agricultural? Yeah, oh wow.
Just hooped, absolutely hooped. But he was like that for 50 minutes. He's dripping in sweat. Yeah. We're feeding him beer as he goes in water to keep him going.
Yeah, look how sweaty he is.
Yeah, he's dripping. So I mean, if the angler's going through that, and we're in a harness with a rod, with a reel, where you can take your hands off, and there's a fish on a hook that we want it to go back. We're not kidding. This is recreational fishing. I want it to go back. Yeah. That fish has got to be feeling something the other side. And I remember speaking to Rob Thompson, who's got the Eloise Ladram. He was part of Chart.
Yeah.
I don't know if you met Rob.
Yeah. I fished with Rod a couple of times.
Yeah.
He was cooking pork pies on a George Foreman once.
It sounds like Rob. Yeah.
What are you doing, you lunatic? But you eat all sorts of stuff at sea, don't you?
But they had a massive fish on. And he was like, I got to the stage with it. We couldn't get it to the boat. So I've got to make the decision. Do I carry on and fight this and it's probably going to be dead?
Yeah.
Or do we get as much line back and just cut it and let it go and let it spit that hook, which it will do.
It will do, yeah.
So they made the decision just to let it go because we're not landing it. What's the point?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think because wasn't there like an hour fight time with charts?
Yeah, they did come up with something like that. And I suppose if you're trolling, then that's probably more or less sufficient. But I think that was also because we didn't know so much about what anglers wanted, right? Like back then, as in, you know, who knew whether somebody wanted to come and have a 2-hour fight? You know, I think it was probably less well understood.
Everybody that's not caught a tuna before who's come on my boat thinks they want to fight a tuna and really enjoy it, and within 10 minutes they're going, right, who's having this rod? And you're like, no, you're staying on that fish. There's ways to minimise it, you know, where I've got one of my lockers on my boat, I can plonk my bum on the locker and sort of lean right back on it and fight the fish off the side of the boat. So you're not just stood there on the flats of your feet. My feet really hurt after a while. I've got flat feet and you've got all that pressure going through, it starts to hurt my feet. So I just sit on my locker. And it looks like I'm sort of bent over in a power pose where I've just got my bum wedged on the edge of that seat. It works really well. So we can sort of rest and minimise what we're doing. I know there's a guy in Poppin who's trying to catch the biggest one they can and get the fight time down to under an hour.
Yeah.
Because again, with that popping and the lure fishing, with those rods, you don't have the power of when we're fishing with 50, 80 class, big 80 wide reels, big heavy braids. You could sort of bully those fish a lot more, whereas in the popping stuff you can. You've got to work them back to the boat. But yeah, taking the boat to the fish has worked really well for us. And there's another trick I'll tell you in a minute.
But I think if we want the, as in we, royal we, but if we want the recreational fishery to kind of like improve the way fish are caught, reduce the fight times so that you know which techniques are likely to lead to the best survival outcomes, and therefore you have minimal impact on the population, and you can keep recreationally fishing tuna for 20 more years in the UK, 50 more years in the UK. That is something that the tracking tags are really well suited to answer those sorts of questions. But the fundamental thing, I think, is that we have to do it together. We have to discover those data together, because you need to own that data as much as we want to, you know, be part of it, because then the kind of the recommendations as to how you want to be managed needs to be something that comes from you, I think, the industry and the stakeholders.
Yeah, most lads are happy they just want to be part of it and go out, catch fish, release fish. I know I have a foot in both camp, and I take a bit of grief for that as well. When we caught that big one, the guy was, aren't you the skipper who does catch and release as well? I was like, yeah, I do. But I also crew on the commercial fishery. Then he was like, that's greed. I was like, I've never been paid for being on that commercial boat. I've done 2 seasons. I've never taken a penny off of them.
Oh, wow.
I do it because I love, A, I get to go tuna fishing, and B, I'm interested in that commercial side of it as well. It's where I want to go. I want to sort of come out the recreational side and go into the commercial side of it, although it's quite I know there's 15 boats this year. They're talking about all sorts of things for next season, possibly multi-year licenses, bringing more boats into it and those sorts of things. It's getting into the recreational fishery is a lot easier than getting into that commercial fishery. But yeah, that's where I want to go with it. I want to go commercial, and for good or for bad, it's.
I mean, like, and you were asking me earlier about, like, did I think eating bluefin and was a good thing? I think, like, no one's gonna be going and eating a British bluefin tuna like they think it's just like a tuna and cucumber sandwich. It's going to be a special occasion thing, isn't it? It's going to be
a
like
high-end restaurant or a hook to plate of doing it, where you can order like the fillets and the sushi side of it, and it turns up vac packed on ice to your door in 24 hours. So if you're having a barbecue in the summer, you can have British bluefin tuna steaks on your barbecue instead of people go, oh, I had tuna today. It wasn't bluefin though. It's like, you know, bluefin aren't in cans. That's skipjack.
It's a totally different thing.
A lot of the tuna we have in if people actually buy that sushi stuff from the garages, it's all yellowfin. It's very rare to see.
Have you had bluefin sashimi before?
No, I don't really like fish.
Well, I don't really eat it, but I had some in Canada once, and it was amazing.
The bit off the top of the head is supposed to be the best bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was talking to Mark about this yesterday. We're having a boat talk. There's a boat I'm going to look at on Thursday, whole nother thing. Mark's the word, never, if you know Mark Jury and you're ever thinking about buying a boat, never talk to him because he'll make you buy it. He's terrible. Just buy it, boy, buy it. And they had had a couple of fish last week. They'd gone up to the processing plant. His missus was away, so he's gone in and helped himself to some of their stock.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd had one of the Japanese buyers down. He was doing the different cuts for them, and he was like, right, try this bit, try this cut, and he was like, tell me which one's the best. And the last one he had, he was like, I've never tasted anything like it, and that was the cut from the top of the head.
Yeah.
Not many people apparently know about that, but that is some of the best bit of meat.
I always thought the belly was supposed to be the best because it had loads of fat in it, but
it's the same up on the top of that head.
Oh, chunky heads.
Yeah, chunky heads. I think it's only a small piece of meat, but yeah, he said it was unbelievable.
But yeah, I think like bluefin, okay, they have been an endangered species, but if we consume them in this country with that kind of like proper like British bluefin, and we have them on special occasions, and they stay really special, and really, you know, people don't think they're just like, oh, I just had some chicken. It's kind of like, no, I had some British bluefin. Like,
it's like the red tractor in farming. We need something. There is an organisation that do it. I can't remember what they're called.
Oh, Marine Stewardship Council.
Very possibly.
They have a blue tick or something.
Yeah. Yeah, because they use marine MSA. Or something. Yeah, MSC. Yeah, sorry. But to join them's really expensive.
Yeah.
And then there's still a yearly subscription to join it, to stay a member. We don't fetch. It's not. Everyone thinks we're like Wicked Tuna, where we're getting $18 a pound.
Yeah.
Our average price, Petros, the boat I fished on this year, our average price this year was £16 a kilo.
Right.
So we did we worked it out as roughly 25 trips for 3 tons of quota, which isn't actually 3 tons of quota because you measure that fish and the MMO give you a weight.
Right.
That's the weight that you log, but we actually sell a dressed weight.
Right,
which is divided by 1.125.
Yeah.
So 3 tons actually worked out to 2.6 tons.
Right. Yeah.
That's the difference between the live weight and the dead weight. Yeah. So I think I won't tell you what they gross because that's their stuff. But it's not a lot of money when you can do the maths. 2,600 times 16. It's not massive money. The lads need some more quota, and it'd be nice if that price would go up. Not out of a greed side of things, but just out of if you're bass fishing as well and you've got a bass entitlement, a Cat A, although Cat A can't do much anymore because there's no pollock fishing, but if you've got a bass entitlement and you put the bass rods down and get the tuna rods out if you do your quota in 6 to 8 weeks, which is more than doable, and then go back to bass fishing for the rest of the year, then it's not a bad top up.
Yeah.
But as a fishery on its own, the money's. Everyone thinks we're in Wicked Tuna, and we're getting 30 grand a fish or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're not. Yeah. The small ones fetch better money than the bigger ones. I think that's a processing thing, though. You know that we couldn't pick up 2 of those fish. We used the crane to take them off every time, but those big ones, you know, there's 4 people. There's 4 of us just to roll it around on the deck doing everything we had to do with it. Whereas those small ones are manhandled, like 1 person, 2 people. Yeah. I think, the smaller fish definitely fetch better money in
the early days when there was no quota. This is like 2018. If a bluefin got landed, the MMO would seize it, and then they'd usually call us and ask if we wanted it for samples. And but to dispose of it, we'd have to chop it up into little biohazard bins and stick it in like the biohazard bins at the university. None of the bags could weigh more than 10 kilos, I think. So I have sawed my way through quite a lot of bluefin, like mincing it up into little bags, and it is such a workout. It takes hours. Yeah, when it's a big fish, you're just like, oh, I'm so tired. I want to stop now. Do
you think? So there's a bycatch law with some of those netting boats. Do you think they should be allowed that? Or you're not that bothered?
I think the bottom line is, as long as the bluefin remains special, we should. I think we should eat bluefin in the UK, but they should be like special. So I would rather it was kept to like the best possible skilled people for catching them.
Rod and line, super sustainable.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, all of that then feels traceable and accountable, and welfare is good, and then the customers want to pay more and all that sort of stuff. So I could feel more enthusiastic about it being restricted to the best possible, skilled people. I don't know. Tricky.
Do you think, so we'll end it on sort of this one, do you think tuna stocks are going to stay where they are in the UK, or do you think we're looking at, because of where the quota is, France with 6,000 tonnes, Spain with X amount, do you think we're going to see tuna stocks fall away again, or do you think that now that we've had that happen once, do you think they're here to stay?
I would love to say they're here to stay. And when you were saying that, like, if you look at the quota that Spain has, it's like orders of magnitude more than we have. So the effect that the British bluefin fishing pressure has on bluefin populations is probably minimal. And because we know from the tracking these fish go to so many different places, the fishing pressure they're experiencing elsewhere is going to matter much, much more than what we do to them here in British waters. So as long as they don't mess it up, we should be okay. But I would like to hope that we learnt a lesson from last time and that management stays cautious. So I don't know, as long as we don't gold rush these fish and take too many.
Because that's what some, I think, have seen it as, is the next gold rush.
We've got to be really careful not to do it because they're awesome and don't we want to,
But
we
at
want them to
45
stick around.
tonnes, it's hard to have a gold rush on 45 tonnes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Sometimes when stuff is rarer, you prize it much more. So perhaps the quota not being mega in the UK is possibly why we have such a good fishery, not least that also easy to go out and don't have to go very far to catch them. But
I've got one last question which I completely forgot about.
Oh yeah.
Do you think our warming sea temperatures have made anything to do? Has it anything to do with the fish coming back?
I think it might be likely to affect their prey, but not the tuna themselves. They're too big and too sort of like tuna are pretty good at regulating their own body temperature. So I don't think they're affected by climate change anywhere near as much as their prey would be. And then also the prey of those animals. So things like herrings and sprats will be eating like plankton and stuff. So there will be an effect. But I think tuna travel so far everywhere that they probably are nowhere near as affected as much by climate change as they are by just their population increasing.
I've got another one now. Just to get controversial, you used the word climate change.
Yeah.
Do you think our climate, as a scientist, do you think our climate is changing because of humans or because the Earth just has gone through warming cycles and cooling cycles in its life?
Yeah.
Do you think we're just going through a warming cycle? Because as a kid growing up in the 80s, I can remember them talking about us going into an ice age, how we're going to have to go into cooling.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk talks about this. Global warming isn't a problem. Global cooling is the real problem. So do you think this is us heating the planet up?
Yeah.
Or do you think we're going through a warming cycle? What's your...
The Earth does go through these natural warming and cooling cycles, but the current one we're going through is unlike anything we've ever seen before. And when you look at measures of carbon dioxide that we're emitting, they're insane. You can get these ice cores, so you can dig out these great big sort of like couple of feet of ice from like areas that have haven't been exposed for years, and they've got little bubbles in them. And because of those, we can go back nearly 1 million years in history, and you can literally pop those little bubbles and suck the air out of them and work out how much CO2 we've produced. And when you make a graph of it, it's literally kind of like, there might be like a little change in CO2, it goes down, it goes up a bit, and then humans came along, the Industrial Revolution hit, and it's like poof, just through the ceiling. So carbon dioxide has just never been as high as it is now. Like it's insanely high, and so there is nothing else that correlates as well with the patterns of climate change we can see now, let alone predict, than humans, the amount of carbon dioxide we've produced.
Are we making it hotter all the time?
Yeah, well, yeah, hotter, but yeah, overall hotter, but more variable too. So we can get much colder winters, but much hotter summers, and overall the temperature's warmer. So these last couple of months have been quite warm.
I've never known weather though. September and October, I've never known weather like it. All the fishermen are saying the same thing. We couldn't get to sea.
Yeah.
Like just back to back to back
stormy,
storms.
Variable. Yeah.
Do you think that is part of climate change?
Yeah, that's what was predicted, and it's what we're
seeing. Is it the El Nino?
Yeah, you get those. Yeah.
And they change, can't they? Which can have effects as well.
Yeah.
Things like that in the Gulf Stream, are they also affected by climate change?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all of these things change the way heat moves around the planet, and that fundamentally affects storm formation. I heard a fact recently it's something like if you're less than 24 years old, you have never lived in a year that didn't break a world record for the hottest summer, which is nuts. So we're just seeing record-breaking weather constantly.
Do you want to hear a more depressing one I read the other day, which is random?
Why
to this?
not?
In 5 years' time, the 80s was 50 years ago.
Oh,
and I was born in 81, and I was sat there having a little moment on my sofa thinking, shit, I'm old. Just to put some comedy into a serious topic.
I was teaching some students a couple of years ago, and I suddenly realised that the shorts I was wearing was older than the students I was teaching, and I was like, "Oh no, I think I might be old." Anyway, I like being older.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I've been rocking the grey beard. Yours is getting there as well, now, mate.
It's distinguished looking.
I skipped grey, went straight to white. I'll make it Father Christmas, you know.
Was
I'm
it
going to
lucky
be
it's
doing
Christmas,
yeah. Be doing it. It started off, the funny thing in my wedding photos. So it started here, and it looked like I had a dribble patch constantly, just this bit of grey.
Just sort of bleach the other side to even it up.
Yeah, it was just this one side, and then since I've been married, and then we've had the kids, it's just gone buff. Yeah, I'm putting it down to the wife and kids, but no. So all in all, tuna in our waters are positive. We're not overfishing them.
No,
they're not eating absolutely everything that's out there.
Nope.
They're not making a massive difference to our seas in a negative way.
Not that I know of, and I don't think they're likely to either. And besides, they're supposed to be here. They are predators of our waters. Yeah.
So all in all, tuna are a good thing.
I think so, and let's work
So's
together.
a recreational fishery.
Yeah.
So's a commercial fishery for it.
Yeah. Hopefully we can keep adding a lot to the recreational industry, and they can definitely add a lot to us, because we could never have done any of this without you. So, yeah. And I really want to work with you particularly, because we haven't actually caught a bluefin together yet, Andy.
You're more than welcome. Come out this afternoon.
I know, but I need a tag to put on it.
Dom sent me a message. Where is it?
Is he like,
hurry up, I want to go fishing.
All right, noted, Dom.
We're bang on time. Lucy, thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you for inviting me.
I always enjoy these chats. You're so knowledgeable. You're super enthusiastic about it. When people would say a scientist, you would think of somebody, oh, well, we're going to be doing... Like, you bring a whole different way to it.
Oh.
With your enthusiasm to it, it's amazing.
Well, you too. You're the same. Like we just both love this stuff, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And we want good for it.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to be able to try and educate some of these people that are in the comments all the time about, like the guy that said, "Oh, you probably shoot elephants in your spare time." Well, actually, mate, I got banned from Painting Zoo for shooting a gorilla, so I can't shoot elephants. So that one doesn't work. But no, like we're not these, like the Guardian guy said, these testosterone-filled whatever it is, just going around glory hunting and all the rest of it.
That's not how I see it. I see it as you love these animals as much as we do.
I love fishing.
And I know love can be in lots of weird ways,
Yeah.
but you want to, like, being able to see the wildlife up close and like touch it, like actually see it that close is astonishing, and it's what keeps me coming back for it.
I think it comes down to one. I've said it before a few times on the podcast. It's one of those last caveman things that you get to do. You can man goes to sea, he catch fish, he bring fish home. There's definitely an element of that in
There's
it.
a wholesomeness to it.
Being out at sea is just, I call it sea therapy. I'm just happy offshore. The phone doesn't work. You're out there with your mates. You're all fishing. Everybody's there for the same. You're buzzing off of each other constantly.
Yeah.
But the last trip I did, I actually got on the rod. The previous 2 trips before that, I didn't even bother fishing. I was on the helm. The boys were taking it in turns on the rod. And they're like, "Do you want to go?" "No, not really."
Yeah.
I'll have a go next trip. It's not even about the fishing sometimes. It's about being out there with the boys, seeing what we see out there. And sort of, I love the watercraft, reading it. You're looking at these fish. Sometimes they're coming up like really quick and going down again. And you're trying to you're looking on the charts going, oh, they're actually working a section of wrecks here, or they're working this contour line. And you're watching the birds go, and you're like, if we get half a mile up in front of them, I reckon they're going to come up along this line, and we'll get in front of them and put the live baits out. And when one of those rod goes, you're like, I read that perfectly.
Yeah. And this is why we need to keep working together, and why we need to try and do some more stuff together, because your read on that, because I'm looking at the fish through the data, you're looking at the fish out there on the water so many more hours than I can ever spend on the water too. And
to line those two things up with that, and then the data proves a point of this, or it shows that.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do loads. But yeah, thank you for coming today.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry we haven't done the podcast in ages. Andy's been tuna fishing. He's been way too busy. We will do some more of them, because tuna season ends on, I don't know when this is going to go out, but today is...
What's today?
It's the 25th of November. The recreational season finishes in 5 days. So Sunday is the last day. We are all going out. So me and Maud were having the conversation last night over multiple Stellas in Guinness. that he was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to go Sunday. I was like, we started this season together on the 18th off the bottom of Land's End, and we're going to finish this season together out there somewhere attached to something with a load of beers. And then we just go into the winter of, there's no bloody tuna to go fishing, but we'll deal with that problem. There's warmer climates to go and catch them, which is good fun. So thank you for listening. Thanks for everybody that started following us on socials as well, because it's lit up recently. That's mad. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Lucy.
Cheers.
See you again. Cheers. Bye.